Welcome to PPR podcast number 59. My name is Paul. Bert is to the guy to my right and in the hot seat. You want to introduce our guest?
Legendary coach Tracy McNair, first Crawford, now the Morse Tigers.
And now with 100 wins to his credit, but Coach...
Yeah, straighten that out for us, Coach.
Straighten it out for us. When did 100 come? Was it last year or this year?
Well, I think it was last year when we beat Coronado, a very good team, is when I had it calculated as 100 wins. So it's here nor there. So I'll take it either way.
But how can it be a vague thing? I mean, is it just a statistician's error that we might have lost a win somewhere along the way?
Well, it could be either one. But, like I said, I've been here for 20-something years. So at the end of the day, one more win, one more loss, it's all the same thing to me.
Well, it's got to be a 100-win club. That means you're doing something right.
No, I agree. I think 100 wins is a good milestone. But if people really know me, it's never been about Coach McNair. It's always about the kids in my community. So you'll never see me boasting about Tracy McNair nowhere. And I really don't let nobody boast about me as well. So at the end of the day, I really appreciate the 100 wins. It's something that's very accomplishable. But I also want to remember that it's always about my kids.
Are you going to stay around for 200 wins, Coach, or no?
Well, I know I got a baby son that's 11, so I know for sure I'm going to be around for the next 5 years for sure.
Coach, what does it take? Well, first of all, let's just go back. Are you a San Diegan? Were you born here?
Yes, I'm a San Diego person. I went to Morse High School, played under John Shacklet, so I'm a Morse alum. So my biggest dream was ever to come back to Morse and be the head coach, which I accomplished that. I also wanted to put Morse back on the map. I think I've accomplished that. So at the end of the day, I'm an inner city guy, and I love my community, and I love Morse High School.
And you know what? We could end the interview right there because that's precious, Coach. I wish there was more of that in your ranks. And I guess Morse High School in 2022 is a different Morse High School than, say, when Shaq was roaming the sidelines because just demographics change, right? I mean, kids move in and out, and because back in the day, Morse was a powerhouse.
Well, I agree to a certain extent. I think the kids that still live in the neighborhood, grow up in the community, they just choose to go to different schools for whatever reason they have. And I think the parents have the right to choose what school their kids can go to. When I grew up, everybody wanted to go to Morse. I mean, now it's more of who is the buzz at the time of what school to go to. There's no more community loyalty. It's all about what can someone do for me versus what can my community do for me. The way I look at it is community raises kids, not schools.
So let me ask you on that. Because I know you want to talk about the kids, so I kind of want to talk about the kids because you have a guy there, Demarion Wright, that I think is the best kept secret in San Diego. Probably, I mean, to me, if you watch him, one of the best players. Probably could be on the pigskin silver podium. Can you talk about him a little bit and why he's such a secret to everybody? Not in the football community, but outside, media-wise, and we probably have to do a better job than that. But can you talk about him a little bit?
Well, I think mainly it's all political. I think everything boils down to high school sports is political. We're going to promote who we want to promote. At the end of the day, we've always had great running backs in Morse. And them same running backs go unheard of for whatever reason. And the same running back can be at a different school, and he's promoted so much better than our kids. D. Wright's dad played in the NFL for so many years. I mean, to not have offers at this point at the size of 6 foot, 205, score 7 touchdowns in one game, and it's like very little said about the kid. I don't know what it is, but I just know for some reason it seemed like politically everybody's against Morse.
How much of that?
Well, let me ask you,
Okay.
Because that's an interesting point. Because I mean, how much of that is our fault, and media people, and how much of that is not being on social media, or nowadays are coaches supposed to promote, or schools supposed to promote, or are we supposed to know?
Yeah, whose role is it to get kids visible in your view?
I think it's a combination of everybody. I just think when you come out with preseason polls, not you in general, but people to say, I say all these people, social media things say, this is the big name kid, this is the big name kid, and then when it comes down to numbers, they say, well, you haven't played nobody. Every time there's something that comes out, it's always a way to find a negative versus find a positive. When Morse ran the ball every year and we had the top running back, he wasn't on CIF, had the most yards, but he wasn't on CIF. So they said he had so many carries. Now we have other running backs, he's in the passing offense, and all of a sudden he's the best running back in the world in the passing offense. But Morse always had running backs go for 2,000 or 3,000 yards, which hurt us in getting kids to Morse because they said we're not throwing the ball enough. So now we're throwing the ball, and now we're still getting the shaft when it comes to like, okay, well, D. Wright is average. He's not average. He's a really good running back. So I don't think it's social media's fault. I just think it's how we promote certain kids to show their program to make more kids come to their school. Like I said, it's about recruiting kids. It's not about keeping your kids in your community.
And I think what impressed me about him is, I mean, we talk about running back, obviously, but that kid could excel at any position pretty much. I mean, you know.
That is correct. I think he can play linebacker. I think he can play defensive end. I know for sure he's a running back, but I think for sure he's a next level guy for sure. And he's not the only one on the team. We have Aliante. We have our quarterback, Yanni Moti, who already threw for 1,300 yards in 4 or 5 games. I mean, we have kids that are doing wonderful things at Morse. Like I said, I don't really see him nowhere.
Well, we'll see it in this podcast for sure, Coach. Could you, while we're just talking about kids, do you stay in touch with Mr. Irby at all?
Yes, I talked to Irby. I have his brother who coaches with me, who played for me, Dr. Ray Irby, that's coaching DBs and some on my JV. He went to Nevada out of Morse. And I have Martell Irby, who got his degree at UCLA and is doing his music up there in UCLA. Then we have a little brother, Cavassier, who's at Fulton running track. So I talk to the Irby family on a regular.
Because that was a big moment in PPR history when he made the podium. What a special kid he is.
Well, that whole family's special. Martell's a great kid. That whole Irby family, like I said, that whole family went to college. And all of them went to college on scholarship. So 4 out of 4 out of Southeast San Diego getting a scholarship, athletic scholarship with academics above a 4.0 says a lot about the Irby family and what that parent and that situation does for her kids.
Coach, you get, like, so you guys, I mean, D3 is kind of stacked this year. You still got Patrick Henry, Point Loma, UC, Mission Bay on the schedule. Do you laugh a little bit when every week, like after week 1, after week 3, we get these rankings and we already have people, you know, slotted to, this is going to be the Open, this is going to be D3, this is going to be the champion. I mean, is that a little laughable with like 8, 9 games left?
Well, I think it's what we call fun as coaching. It's who's standing at the end. It's not who's standing at the beginning. So I think it's really, really fun. I think it's very competitive, and I think that the Division III is a good division this year. And I appreciate that because I really like competitive games. I think both schools like competitive games, whether we win or we lose. Competitiveness breeds discipline.
Tracy, what are the challenges that you have that other coaches in the county have no clue about? I mean, you don't have the 30-person staff. You don't have all the super drinks after practice. Could you talk a little bit about what your day-to-day is like compared to some of the coaches who get more ink than you do?
Well, I think mainly it's more of a perception that's been passed down from probably 10 years or so that Morse is this ghetto school. You shouldn't go to Morse. Academics are not good at Morse. That's one aspect. Another aspect is when you have a bus that takes kids out your neighborhood and takes them someplace else, and it doesn't have a bus that comes back to my neighborhood, it's kind of like, looks a little fishy to me. When we look at the total number of coaches per se, or money to pay coaches, there's no money to pay coaches, so we're basically doing a lot by ourselves. So if you look at it in turn, it's like I keep saying, I think it's more political. Like I said, I came from Crawford and came to Morse, and the situations are very, very, very similar. So that's why I say my day-to-day is making sure kids get home, kids get fed, kids get their homework done. Kids don't have parent issues at home. It's not even always about sports. It's more about kids' life off the football field and off the court.
Mm-hmm. You don't probably realize it, but someone needs to say, man, you're just a very integral part of the community, and I just hope people understand it. Next to parents, you're the most important figure in these kids' lives, and the fact that you take it on with such great responsibility speaks volumes to who Tracy McNair is. I hope you know we appreciate you, as I'm sure the community in Morse does.
Well, I'm gonna give you a shout out to my to Skyline Tigers as well, the Skyline Pop Warner Youth Organization. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I also coach the high school team. I go from the high school team to Pop Warner team, which my son plays on, 11U. So I'm literally at Morse on a day-to-day basis from 8 to about 8:30 every day. And that's serving kids, not just my son, that's serving high school kids and youth kids all day long.
And you know, you took the next question out of my mouth because I was going to ask you that. I mean, in the last 10 years, and you remember I used to be with Eastlake. In the last 10 years, it was always, if you played at Skyline, you went to Morse. If you played at Eastlake, you went to Eastlake, you know, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's really changed in the last 10 years. You see that a lot? A lot of kids that just, I mean, it's almost like you're, you know, used to be a recruit a high school kid to go to college. Now it seems like you're getting recruited out of youth a lot more than it used to be to go to different high schools. You seeing that more?
Oh, that's the new wave. So the new wave is hire the Pop Warner coach to get the kids. So if I have the best Pop Warner coach, I have the best travel team, I get all the kids to come to my program, then I say, hey, I'm the best coach in the world. Well, I tell everybody, the best coaches are the ones that coach with less and do more. So I guess that's what Morse says at this point. We're coaching less, and my kids are being coached up, and they're getting way, way better. And we're doing within our own community. So I choose to coach at Skyline just for that fact. I want to make sure that if I see a high school coach down there at Skyline recruiting, I'm gonna say, look here, I'm here from 8 to 8. Leave my kids alone, coach your kids.
Tracy, I think you know that you're a role model to a lot of people. I want to know who are your role models? What coach? I assume Coach Shaq probably was formative in your coaching methods, but who else is influential in the Tracy McNair coaching philosophy?
Well, for sure, it's Coach Shaq, for sure. He was the first one that taught me run the football. So that's my first philosophy when it comes to offense. Then I got to talk about Kirby Wilson, who was my defensive back coach when I played in college, who also just recently retired and came back as one of the coaches of that new football league. I had Nate Wright, who was my DB coach at Grossmont College, who played for the Minnesota Vikings. And then most of all, I had my grandmother. My grandmother was my biggest coach, my biggest fan. She taught me about do things the right way, and people remember for who you are. Do things the wrong way, and they'll forget who you were.
What was your grandma's name?
Lillian McNair.
All right, Coach, I know you're not on social media, but I'm gonna throw you in the mix right now. Your experience, and you know better than anybody, who's the best team in San Diego right now?
Who's the best team in San Diego right now? That's a tough one. If you say the best in Division III, I'm gonna say RBV. If you say the best overall, I'll give it to my brother David Dunn over there at Lincoln.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with you after watching them on KUSI a week ago. I mean, they look good.
And you played,
great.
They look great everywhere. You played, I mean, you brought up RBV, Connor Underhill. We have them for Game of the Week. You got to see them up close and personal. What are we going to expect for this Friday night for that?
Well, what they do well, which we couldn't stop, they run the ball very, very well. They run counter and they run trap very, very well out their spread concepts that they do. Their line's big up front, and that running back is he's a legit running back too.
Trapasio?
All respect to that running back. And the quarterback can throw pretty well. They got two receivers on the outside. Our game came basically down to, I think they was up by 7. We came back. No, he was up by 14 or something. We came back, went up by 7. Then we just ran out of gas. So in the last 3 minutes, they scored 14 points. So our game was really, really close, but their team is really, really good and really stacked.
How many of your guys play both ways?
I'm going to say out of 11, I'd probably say 7.
So conditioning is really important over at Morse High, I bet.
Well, we condition a lot, but it's more of, do they have the heart? Do they want to be good? And sometimes you get a group of kids that just want to be good, and you get a group of kids that just want to show up and play the game. And you've coached before, you've been around football long enough to know the kids that want to put in the work are the ones going to be successful.
And you got to be a little proud or a little happy now. I mean, when you left Crawford, it kind of went, I don't even know where to say it went, but
it's coming back now.
No, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
you got to be impressed with Coach Martinez, right?
I'm so happy to see what Crawford is doing. Like I said, Crawford gave me my first opportunity to be a head coach. I'm going to always be in debt to them and to to Lloyd Dyson, who was the principal at the time. But yeah, Matt Marquez was one of the kids I coached when I was at Crawford. So to see him out there coaching as one of my kids that came from me that's coaching at Crawford is a great thing. And then Kelsey Butcher, the AD over there, is doing wonderful things as well.
And they got the field, and Coach Matt's a lot like you. He's a no-nonsense guy, and you know, I think, you know, the theme of a lot of the coaches we've talked to, Tracy, is, you know, when we had Jason Brown on, is adults don't realize it, but kids seek discipline and structure. And maybe you could speak to that, we're so careful to avoid correcting kids that we forget that our role is to correct kids.
So in reality, correction is love. Not correcting is hate. So the way that we raise our kids up here, I'm going to love you, but I'm going to hate you when you do something wrong. So you got to do the right thing on and off the football field. You got to be held accountable at home. So we hold the kids accountable in every aspect of their life. It's just not about football. It's about any little thing. It could be the smallest of things that you think is small in your household might be big in my household. So we got to make sure that off the field distractions don't become a problem at school.
And that explains why you send me all those mean emails after every PPR.
It's
Friday
love,
night.
man.
It's love. Okay.
It's love. I'm trying to
I
correct
appreciate
your
that.
behaviors and make you better. Coach, tell us a little bit about like your football career. Did you played at Morse? Obviously, what happened after Morse?
So I played at Morse High School. I played linebacker and fullback. I'm only like 150 pounds. So, I was hard-nosed, but, wasn't nobody giving me no scholarship. And at that time, I don't even think I knew anything about no scholarship. I was more into the streets and doing the street life, the thug life, doing what I shouldn't have been doing, which a lot of our kids grow up in this community start doing. So from there, I said, you know what? I'm not going to go to Southwestern College with all my friends. I'm going to go do something different. That's why I made my change. I said, I'm going to go to Grossmont College where none of my friends went. So I went by myself to Grossmont College. Ended up playing there at corner for the first time, making All-American my first year playing corner, played for Nate Wright. From there, I got a scholarship to SIU, Southern Illinois University, and ended up playing corner out there. During that time, Coach Dunn at Lincoln was at Fresno State. And then I said, I'm going to play my brother one more time, because he played at Morse with me my senior year. We ended up going to Fresno State. He ended up getting more playing time than me. I ended up not playing as much, not understanding the politics of transferring, and that you have to win the battle off the field and on the field to get on the field. So I ended up not really playing a lot my senior year at Fresno State. But I graduated from Fresno State, but I played D1 ball more at Southern Illinois than in place up.
And let me ask you that, because I agree with you. I think a lot of kids should get out of town, but it seems like in the last 15 years, kids have been so coddled and spoiled that they can't make it out of town anymore. I mean, it used to be you go 3,000, 5,000 miles away, you start all over at 18 and you were prepared for that. Now it seems like they've been so coddled, like a lot of kids can't make it away. Obviously, there's a lot to do. I'm not saying that, but overall, it seems like it used to be get out of town and get away from everything, and now it's kids can't seem to make it out of town without that support system.
Well, I think it's hard when you're a young 18-year-old kid leaving San Diego for the first time and never been to the Midwest, and understand that the cultures are different. There's a lot of different cultures in the South and in the Midwest and up north, what have you. But you need a support system. So most time when kids go with somebody they know to another university out of state, they'll do okay. But if they go by themselves, that is a very hard struggle and transition. Especially if a kid had a girlfriend in high school and had to leave that girl for the first time and think they was really in love, not understand that the pond is a lot bigger in the ocean out there in the university system than it was in high school. So there's a lot of stuff that the kids have to learn, and also the parents. Because the parents, for the first time, letting their babies go and looking like, okay, now who's going to cook for them? Who's going to wash their clothes? All that stuff that we take for granted as kids. Did that kid learn that as much as they learned football?
Laundry, everything.
Oh.
Terrible.
Well, but I think I look back on that. Now I went 2.5 hours away. I think that was
That don't count.
That was, but it was important just to be feeling that little bit of isolation is important. I think that's what works against San Diego State, is because you have all these great football players here in the county, but part of the educational life growing experience is to get away from home as you make that jump from high school to college. And I think that's why San Diego State sometimes runs aground recruiting local kids. Do I have that right, or do I have that wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think the more San Diego State moves up the ladder as far as conferences, maybe Pac-12 if they can, they'll get more kids. The biggest thing with 4- and 5-star kids coming out of San Diego, they want that dream school name. Not understand that dream school name might not be the best fit for them. So if San Diego State was USC, for example, I'm pretty sure everybody would go to San Diego State. But the fact that they're considered San Diego State and they're not Pac-12 or SEC, our big name kids are going to choose to go elsewhere. It's just how it is right now in high school. It's the same thing. If I'm the big name school like a Lincoln, I'm going to Lincoln. It's the same thing. So we got to figure out how to put San Diego State on the map to where they're a little bit bigger. I mean, that stadium that they just got is going to help them immensely. But hopefully they go Pac-12, we'll get more kids to stay at home.
And I'm sorry. And what is that? Because, I mean, it used to always be, and we're all the same age, it used to always be you turn on TV and it'd be attendance. And you see this full stadium, you see this big experience. But you look at UCLA now, they have nobody there. USC is going to be number 5 in the country. They have nobody there. So what's the difference now? Is it just still the name brand of those schools?
Or NIL?
Or is it NIL? Or like, I mean, I see kids and USC is not the USC I remember just because I turn on TV and I see 15 people there. I mean, they're still great. They're still sending people to pros. They still got NIL money, but how much of it is that game day experience that you're going to miss at Texas A&M, LSU, or these other schools, Ohio State? I mean, it's got to be hard to watch because I mean, they don't even put those schools on TV anymore. They don't pan up to the, to the crowd because it's so bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think like it is in California, you have so many options, and in these other places, there's not that many options. So California, you got the beach, you got the Disneyland, you got all these other options that people can do versus going to football games. Like you go Midwest and go to Nebraska. My dad was stationed in Nebraska. It was always sold out. It's still always sold out, and they're not even that good. It's just certain programs have certain stuff that's the only thing to do in that neighborhood. So like for a Cali kid to leave California, hold on. So like for a California kid to go to the Midwest and go out there to see some of the 1AA programs out there, they're gonna have more fans in the bleachers than some of the 1As out here in California. It's just more opportunities to do stuff out here in California.
Wait, you saying you can't go deep sea fishing, skiing, go to Mexico, go to Disneyland in Morgantown, West Virginia?
See? That's what it is.
All right, Tracy, I've just named you king of the universe just now. You have one wish. You can change anything about San Diego high school football. Choose wisely, Coach. What's the one thing you're going to change, or what will be the McNair commandment?
Make everything fair.
And how do you do that, Coach?
Everybody has the same rules. There's one rule book. If there's busing for one, there's busing for all. If there's no boundaries for one, there's no boundaries for all. If there's a GPA, there's a GPA for all. If there's a transfer, there's a transfer for all. I think everything has to be fair across the board. School size shouldn't matter. Enrollment shouldn't matter. Number of participants in athletics shouldn't matter. So at the end of the day, make everything fair and make it about the kids.
So give me an example without naming names, because I know I don't want to stir the pot that much, but give me an example of something that you think is grossly unfair that is maybe happening under my nose and I don't even see it as unfair.
Well, I'm a big proponent of public versus private. I'm gonna say it like it is. If I offer you a scholarship to come to a private school, how is that fair? And then how are we saying undue influence when I can give a scholarship to a kid? So to me, that don't even make no sense to me. That's one scenario. A kid that can catch a bus from my neighborhood and go to another school, and then I don't have a bus that comes to my school, that's not fair. And then we play the same exact school within our schedule. That's not fair. But like I said, I'll choose to do what's right for our kids in our community. I don't think the powers to be choose what's right for our community. I think they choose what's right for their community.
All right. I got one thing. I'm putting Demarion Wright on the Silver Pigskin watch list effective today.
Well, I think he already was. I mean,
I'm moving him up.
I know who the kid is. I say his name. Coach, what was you've held a state title in your hands. Few coaches can say that, or you've held a section title in your hand. Few coaches can say that. What's your proudest moment as a coach? Your individual achievement as a coach?
My proudest moment is to see kids on Christmas and they say, "Coach Mack, Merry Christmas." It ain't even about football. It's a number of lives I've touched. So when I walk through the community or I walk someplace in a grocery store or someone say, "Hey, Coach Mack, how you doing?" Or "Coach Mack got me a job, I'm working at Target." Those are the proudest moments. It's not football. Football is just a catalyst for getting kids to get academics to become good young men or good young women. That's all it is. So at the end of the day, just say thank you, Coach Mack, when I see you. That's all I want to say to me. That's my biggest accomplishment.
Well, I want to thank you. But, hey, all right, so
You're at 25 minutes again.
Coach, can I ask a couple more questions, because I don't get the chance to talk to you. You never return my call most of the time. So
Yes, I understand. My phone never stops ringing.
All right. 2 more questions.
Yes, sir.
Mom and dad is sitting in front of you. You know how it is. Moms and dads are worried about their kids playing tackle football. It's not like other sports. There's a risk of serious injury, sometimes life-changing injury.
We're talking Skyline youth football right now.
Either or, it can be either or. Sell me football as, you know, I'm a proponent of the game, but I certainly didn't play it at your guys' level. I never got hurt that bad. But what would you say to me if I had, all right, I have little Joey here. Joey wants to play for the Morse Tigers, but I want him to play soccer. What would you say to me to convince me to let that kid play football?
Well, this is my job. My job is not to convince. My job is to support a parent's decision. And I think if we're convincing people to do something that they don't want to do and something goes wrong, then you're the one that's at fault. So my stance is I promote the game of football to any kid in all ages of kids with the presence that, yes, there is a chance of injury, but I'm going to teach you how to have less of a chance to have an injury. So, for example, if you will ever come to a Morse practice, we don't hit in practice. So, like, we have these CF rules that say, so we have CF rules that say how many hours you can hit, take it to the ground, thud, all that type of stuff. We never hit in a Morse practice. First of all, we don't have enough kids, and they go both ways. So if I get a kid hurt in practice, that's 3 kids basically in the game. So there's other ways to teach the game without putting all the violent collisions into the game. So we say the only day we're going to hit is on Fridays. So that's how I sell what I do at high school and at same thing at Skyline. We don't hit in Skyline's practice. We might not be the best tacklers, but my parents have to understand that I'm thinking about longevity and the amount of hits that kids are taking during the week and going to a game and performing and going both ways.
I love this guy.
I agree. I agree.
I just, Coach, I've always been a big fan. Even when I met you, it was all about the corral, and now the fact that you're back at Morse. What's the biggest difference between Morse 2022 and Morse 20, or what years were you there?
80s.
I graduated in 89, 90 with Jesse Campbell and David Dunn was on my team.
So was Lincoln already left? Or, I mean,
Lincoln left in 89, so he was the year before I graduated.
So what's the biggest difference at Morse right now between those eras?
Well, if I had to say the truth, it's probably culture, the culture of the community and the culture of the school. Back in my day, we had the parade for homecoming that went from Skyline Park all the way to Morris High School down Skyline. I don't see that no more. We had pep rallies every Friday for promoting any athletic event. I think the culture itself has changed a little bit, and everybody's saying that it's not about sports. It's supposed to be about academics. So I think some of that is rubbing off on what happens in the community as far as sports. So that's the biggest difference. I think the roster size. I mean, when I went here, we only had 2 freshmen make the JV team. I mean, it was me and Coach Durd. 2 kids out of the whole school that made JV as freshmen. Nowadays, I don't even cut. I take every kid that comes out for football and we let them all play. There is no cuts anymore. Did you come and try out? There ain't no tryouts. You just come get a helmet and shoulder pads, let's go. So that's the biggest difference.
No, you forgot one difference, because I know Shaq wasn't saying no hitting in practice every day.
Oh, Shaq wasn't, but we was hitting in practice.
Yeah, I know. That was a big difference. Did you guys play, I'm sorry, did you guys play a lot of both ways back then or no?
If you was the best player on the team, yes, you played both ways. But back then, offensive line normally just played offensive line, and your skill guy like the running back would play DB and stuff like that. So yeah, we went both ways, but not to the magnitude it is now.
You're way over time.
All right, Tracy.
You just won't let Tracy go. You got a man crush or what?
Yeah,
let this man go. You heard 6 bells go off.
All right, Tracy. If I kept you past, I apologize.
That's why you don't answer your call. I know why now.
Just know your time is appreciated, and we wish you nothing but continued success. Last question. Well, you were talking about the culture. Will that ever change? Will that ever come back, or is that genie out of the bottle and is it never coming back?
Well, I'm working on it. So like right now, I make Morse a community school. Like we got Skyline Pop Warner up here, we got Mercury track team up here, I'm trying to make Morse to where every youth sport that's in our neighborhood is at Morse High School working. So when the kids are growing up, they're seeing Morse. When people say Morse is a bad school, they've been here for the last 10 years with their youth kids. So I'm trying to change the culture of what high school football and high school sports looks like. I want Morse to be a community, youth, and high school organization.
Everybody, Tracy McNair, podcast number 59 has now completed. Coach, thank you very much for your time. I wish you nothing but continued success in what you're doing, and know that you have a lot of fans here at the Prep Pigskin Report.
Right, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tracy.
This
Thank
is
you.
over.